Welcome to This Week in Our Collective Heads. I wanted to give you guys a full review of the Nintendo Switch. Now that we have it, we've been playing it for, I've been playing it for the past week. Had it in our hands and playing pretty much exclusively. Very rarely moving to something else. Wanted to give you an in-depth kind of look at the Nintendo Switch and what it's like in your home. First and foremost, I'd like to say the Pro Controller is worth the purchase. I know that this is $70, but if you're playing this, playing Legend of Zelda or a game where you're going to be playing for quite some time, the comfort in this controller is considerably better than the Joy-Cons. Joy-Cons are fine. They're small, but haven't had too many problems with them in shorter playthroughs. I've also used them in the grip, and they were okay for playing Legend of Zelda, but the Pro Controller is considerably better. It's more ergonomic. It's easier easier when you're trying to hit certain buttons. The layout as well as the size is considerably better, so I would like to point that out. Another thing I'd like to mention here is when you get your Nintendo Switch is to use the SD card functionality in here. Put the SD card in as soon as you get it. It will use the SD card first and foremost when you download games. Unfortunately, save data is connected to the hard drive. I tested this out quite a few times because I was told that you could delete the save data, and when you retry that it'll use the SD card. It does not. So currently it is locked to the console itself. Hoping that later on Nintendo will do some cloud saves. Reggie Fils-Aimé was talking about this recently, and I'm really hoping that they start implementing that, because a cloud save functionality will be great if something happens to this Switch, or if I decide to sell this and upgrade, however, whatever happens in the future. It's nice to have that flexibility. If you put in 100 hours in Breath of the Wild or Skyrim that's coming up, it's nice to be able to bring that with you if your console itself fails. Another thing I'd like to point out after having quite some time with this is the battery life. Playing Zelda, I played just under 2 hours of Zelda before I was hitting really low battery, about 20% and stopped. So that's not great. If you are playing this as a home console with the portability added to it, that's fine. But if this is your handheld go-to, that's going to be a problem. It does take quite a while to charge. In my testing, it took a couple hours to charge from that 20% all the way up to 100. Did that on the regular dock as well as trying that USB-C. I have a portable. Don't have it with me. Thought I would. I have a portable battery as well, USB battery charger that I could take with me for my phone and for other uses. So I tried that with this console, and that's a 6,000 milliwatt, whatever the rating is on that. I forgot the name. So it was able to charge it to 100%, but it took I think 3 hours to charge it up from 20%. Up. It's 5% every 10 minutes or something like that. So it took a considerable amount of time to charge. That's unfortunate because it would be nice if it had some type of quick charge functionality. That may just be my battery that I'm using. So there may be others out there, but caution on that. Make sure you're using something that's rated properly, because you don't want to overload this. So go to tech resources who are better than me for that. Another thing I'd like to point out is the actual size. As you can see here, the Switch, honestly, it's not very big. If you take off the Joy-Con actually make it look considerably larger than it is. This is the Switch. This is right next to a controller. This is the size of about a Xbox One controller or so. Next to a CD case, the Breath of the Wild CD case. You can see it's a little longer, but the thing's not very big. A lot of people have been complaining about it being a little large to take with you portably, but I really haven't had a problem with it. What I would say with that is get a case. I personally like the screen protectors, but I have a case that I keep this in when I take it with me that goes in my backpacks. This thing doesn't fly around in my backpack. The reason that I say that is the Joy-Con themselves, if you buy a set, is $79. So it's more expensive than the Pro Controller to buy a set of these. So with that being said, the fact that the screen could have issues, the fact that it's a small console, I put this all into its own case. It then goes into my backpack. I don't want it flying around. I don't want stuff to mess with the analog sticks. They all go in a case together, which actually is the Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition case, which that's actually my recommendation for cases. It's a great case, has ample spots for your game cartridges, and it's fantastic. That's another reason why to get the SD card is if you would like to do a lot of digital downloads, that's the best way to do it. And now with Nintendo's systems with digital, don't try to use this with multiple Switches. It does not have a family sharing aspect of that. So if you have two Nintendo Switches in the house, they're going to get separate games. So I would encourage you, if you do have multiple family members who will have a Nintendo Switch, to get the physical for now, to go with physical media. Unfortunately, it's just going to be easier for you to trade games and to play each other's games. But overall, I'm absolutely loving the Switch. So all of that aside, I really love it. The low battery time on this, for me, is not a problem. I use this as a home console that has portability. That's really what this is for. I have a PS4 and everything, but this is my go-to for a fun console that I can take with me. But for the most part, it stays in the dock. I play most of the time on the Pro Controller. I have put in, for you guys, I put in about the same amount of time with the Pro Controller as I did the Joy-Con, just so I could get a feel of it. The Pro Controller is pro. The Pro Controller is what I would say is a serious gaming controller. The Joy-Con are fine. There's nothing really wrong with them. In fact, the rumble is really cool in them with a few games, with 1-2 Switch and a few others. The rumble is fantastic. The buttons are fine. The analog sticks actually are fine too. I'd say they're a step up from the 3DS, a step up from the new 3DS, I should say. Better than the Vita. Honestly, it's been a blast to have this thing with me. Even with the small amount of games right now, it's been a lot of fun. Now the question, should you buy a Nintendo Switch? It all boils down to a few things. What are you wanting out of the Nintendo Switch? Are you wanting to play Zelda? And if so, do you have a Wii U? Because if you have a Wii U, you can get The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild on your Wii U and just play it that way. If you didn't have a Wii U and you would like to get back into Nintendo and everything, then that's a possibility, but understand that the games aren't coming out all at once for this. You're getting Mario Kart later on, ARMS is coming out. There are games that are steadily coming out, as well as indie games like the Binding of Isaac. Street Fighter 2 Ultimate Edition is coming on this, which I cannot wait to play. But the games are coming out slowly. I believe that this is more of a soft launch. Nintendo launched the console for everyone to have, while they slowly add functionality. That's another thing that I'd like to point out, is there's no Netflix or Hulu or anything else on this device. Reggie Fils-Aimé has said that he would like, or they're working with those providers to get it onto the Switch, which is great because with this screen, if I'm already taking this with me, this screen would be great to be able to watch some TV shows. It's better than my phone. I should say it's larger than my phone. So I would like to use this to watch Netflix and other things while I'm out. Another con on this, by the way, is that the charging port is on the bottom. So if you're in tabletop mode like so, then you're going to have a problem trying to charge it while you're watching anything. So you want to probably get you can get something that a stand that props it up, so you can play tabletop mode like this for longer periods of time. So another thing that I wanted to bring up was if you want to get the Switch, if you're one of the people who's itching to get new technology, yeah, go get the Switch. You probably already have it if you're one of those people. But right now, I would caution against getting it, only to say, do your research. Look at the games that are out. Are there games out that you really want to play? And do you have a drive to be playing these right now? Or do you want to wait for summer or fall or holiday? I mean, for Christmas, this thing is going to be amazing. You're going to have Mario Kart, Mario Odyssey. There's going to be some great stuff on the console at the time. So if you're a hardcore fan of new technology, of gaming, then yeah, go grab it. It's excellent. There are some drawbacks and some positives and negatives, but for the most part, I would say go get it if you're that type of person. But look at the games that are out, because there may be games on there that aren't coming for months for you that you really wanted to play. ARMS, Splatoon 2, Mario Kart, they're not out on the console yet. They should be, but they're not. Another thing that I'd like to point out is everyone has been complaining about the left Joy-Con losing sync. Personally, and like I said, I have played I've played the same amount with the Pro Controller playing with Breath of the Wild with these as I did with that. I played with them separate in my hands as well as docked into the grip. I did not have a loss of connection while playing that. The only time I had a loss of connection actually was when we were playing in groups, and we were playing 1-2 Switch. It wasn't even during the game. It was trying to accept the controller and say I was ready to play. Never had a problem while I was playing the game. So it has not been a problem for me, but it has been a relatively systematic problem for a lot of users, and they've found that it is actually a design flaw in the left analog stick. Why am I talking about this? Long story short, there may be a fix for this that's coming out. Future Nintendo Switch consoles may have a fixed left Joy-Con. So I'd like to just make sure that's something that's out there, that makes sure you understand that that's something some people are having issues with. Some others have reported screen issues, dead pixels, some weird interlacing and other really weird things. I've not had an issue, and I know 7 or 8 people who have the Switch in their hands right now, and they have not had the issue either. I know those are going on, but I don't think it's that widespread. So overall, I absolutely love this console, but just understand this is not the powerhouse that the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 4 Pro, Xbox One S, and of course the future Scorpio. This is not the PlayStation killer. This is not the Xbox killer. PlayStation's actually that, but this console is not going to replace those if you're a hardcore gamer. But what this is going to do is add functionality, portability for you, as well as giving you access, obviously, to Nintendo titles. So I'd like to make sure that people know that this is, of course, not as powerful as those consoles, because they're packing it into this small little package. Something like this that literally can slide into my pocket. It's not going to be as powerful as a PS4 Pro. Of course not. It's not going to do 6 teraflops, but it's going to do fun things. You're gonna have fun with it. I would like to leave you with my recommendations for games on this. Obviously, Breath of the Wild. If you have a Nintendo Switch and you don't have Breath of the Wild, it's unfortunate, because that is the game to play, and I don't mean that even as a hyperbole. Breath of the Wild is one of the best games that I've ever played. The scores on this are deserved. But my other recommendations are not 1-2 Switch, unless you're getting this console specifically to play with your friends and laugh and party. It's 1-2 Switch is only as fun as the people you're playing with, so caution against that. Only for that reason. I like it. But my number one recommendation, other than Breath of the Wild, and if you watch our show regularly, you know what I'm talking about, it's Snipper Clips. Snipper Clips is one of the best games on this console. Apologies for my dog. One of the best games on this console. It's hilarious, it's fun, it's simple, it's straightforward, and you'll have a blast playing it. Other than that, I would highly recommend Fast RMX, or Fast Remix, if you will. Fun racing game, and both of those games are $20. So you get 2 games for less than the price of one in most cases. I would highly recommend grabbing those at this point. Binding of Isaac is going to be coming out soon. I would recommend grabbing that as well. But those are my recommendations at launch. I'm going to be getting a lot of indie games on this and a lot of downloads for those reasons, but game carts are probably going to be my main thing for large games because there's only 32 gig of space in this, and with my SD card I'm up to 64. So let me know what you think of the Nintendo Switch. Have you played one? Do you think that it's overrated? What do you think on honestly the console? And let me know if you haven't bought a Switch, what would push you to buy one other than power? Let me know in the comments. We'll talk to you guys later.